Hello, hello. Today we are solving for a specific variable. So today we are going to be choosing one of the many variables in our equation that we want to solve for, that we want to get by itself on one side of my equal sign. So excuse me again, I have kind of a stuffy nose, so this may sound a little funky, but we're going to be solving for a specific variable. So if you look, in my column, I actually have an example that we're going to be doing. So we're going to be going through that example as we walk through the steps. So my steps for solving for a specific variable are identify which variable you're solving for. If you look at my equation, I have 3x and 2y equals 7. Well, I have two different variables. I have an x and I have a y. But my problem says solve for y. Make sure you look at which one you're solving for. I'm solving for y. So if I'm trying to get y alone on one side of my equal sign, the first thing I want to do is subtract 3x from both sides. Well, 3x take away 3x gives me 0x. Bring down your 2y equals negative 3x plus 7. Well, y is not alone yet. There's a 2 being multiplied by it. If I divide both sides by 2, I want to divide every piece on the other side of my equal sign by 2. So 2y divided by 2, those 2's cancel, and I get y equals. Well, then I have two separate pieces. Notice what I did here. I divided each piece by 2. Each piece meaning each thing separated by a plus or minus sign. Well, in my first piece, I have 3x, or negative 3x, divided by 2. Can I simplify negative 3 divided by 2? Nope, so I bring down negative 3 over 2 times x plus 7 over 2. Now some of you guys may want to make this y equals negative 1.5 x plus 3.5. We're going to actually stick to fractions in this case. We want to stick with fractions because when we start graphing these lines, that's going to make more sense. So I identified which variable I was solving for. I performed operations to get the variable alone, that y is alone, on one side of the equal sign. And then I simplified my equation. I made sure that each piece was simplified, and I reduced all my fractions, so my final answer, I'll write it nice and neat, is y equals negative 3 over 2 times x plus 7 over 2. So, solve for the specified variable. My questions are, what am I solving for? And then what do I need to do to move, or what do I need to move so that variable is alone? Well, my first one, I'm solving for y. So I have this y right here. I'm trying to get y alone on the left side of my equal sign. So take away x from both sides. Negative 5y equals negative x plus 15. What's next? What do I have to do? I have to divide both sides by negative 5. Well, I'm going to divide every piece that's separated by a plus or minus sign by negative 5. So negative 5 divided by negative 5, those become 1. I get y equals. Well, then I have negative x over negative 5. A negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. So I have positive x over 5. I have positive 15 divided by negative 5. That becomes negative 3. So your final answer is y equals x over 5 take away 3. Next one, I have 2m plus n minus p equals 11, and I'm solving for n. Make sure you know which one you're solving for. So I'm trying to get this n alone on the left side of my equal sign. Well, what can I do first? I got two other pieces I got to move over, this 2m and this minus p. Which one do you want to move first? Oh, let's add p. Let's add p to both sides. So I get 2m plus n equals 11 plus p. Well, that n is not alone yet. I need to take away 2m or subtract 2m from both sides. 2m minus 2m becomes 0, and I get n equals 11 plus p minus 2m. So this is actually a perfectly good final answer, but a lot of times you'll see the variables in alphabetical order, so it would be n equals negative 2m plus p plus 11. I will take either of these two answers. If you get it to look like this, I'll give you a check plus you will get a 100. Okay, so I get Q equals RST. Oh, what are the inverse operations for multiplication and division? If I'm multiplying R times S times T, and I'm solving for S, how can I get rid of or move to the other side the R and the T? If they're being multiplied by the S, could I divide by R and by T on both sides? Then wouldn't those R's cancel and those T's cancel? And then all I'm left with is that S? Could that work? I think it can. I actually know it can. If you divide by R and T, S is all alone, and S equals Q divided by RT. Is my variable all alone? Is S all alone on one side? Yep. This is actually your final answer. It looks kind of funky, I know, but if your problem starts with a lot of numbers and a lot of letters, it's probably going to end with a lot of letters. Number 4 says 2 over 3x equals y. So 2/3 times x equals y. I'm solving for x. What can I multiply by on both sides of my equation so that x is alone? What can I multiply by? We have this thing called the reciprocal. Is that ringing any bells? I could multiply by that fraction flipped over on both sides. So my 3's and my 2's become 1. They cross out. And I get x equals, well, 3 over 2 times y can just be left as 3 over 2 times y. And that's your final answer. X is all alone, and it equals 3 over 2 times y. Okay, last one. It says more steps, same process. So On the last problem, I multiplied by the reciprocal, right? I had a fraction, and I multiplied both sides by it to get my variable alone. Well, in this problem, I'm solving for n, but I got this nasty looking 1/4 over here. Do I want to distribute 1/4 if I'm trying to get n alone? Do I want to multiply that in when I'm trying to get this guy alone? No, I don't. I just want to move it over from the very beginning. So what I can do is I can multiply both sides by the reciprocal of that fraction. Those 4's cancel, those 1's cancel. Then all I'm left with is m plus n equals p times 4/1, or really just 4 times p. I'm trying to get this n alone because I'm solving for n. If I subtract m on both sides, those m's become 0, they cancel out, and I get n equals 4p minus m. Or we said sometimes you'll see it in alphabetical order. So it would be n equals negative m plus 4p. And this would be your final answer. I would also take this guy. In both of these, my variable is alone. I was solving for n. N is by itself. And you simplified what's on the other side. There's no fractions that need to be simplified. There's no like terms that can be combined. This is my final answer. So flip your paper over. You have 4 more problems. We're going to come around and help you finish these.